Pockets 2022 Game of the Year Game Awards for gaming excellence in video games, as voted on by us, the hosts of the Back Pocket 2022 Game Awards for excellence in video games.
Sponsored by Mountain Dew.
Sponsored by Mountain Dew.
Thank you, Mountain Dew, for being the tastiest beverage this side of the couch.
Do they still make Mountain Dew?
I don't know.
Don't they make Code Red? That really
What the fuck is
that?
Code Red?
That's the like high sugar version of it. That's bright red.
High
They
sugar?
need higher sugar?
Yeah.
Mountain Dew was all sugar.
It's just sugar.
Maybe they took it off the market.
Get some of them illegal soda.
Oh yeah.
We are here with another Game of the Year video, but it's not Game of the Year.
Not Game of the Year.
But some of these games could
Will
be on
appear on
people's
the
Game of the Year
list,
potentially.
lists.
Yep, actually
I
they
think
are.
because today's video is. Oh, I did not expect this. Biggest prize of 2022.
I thought you might have changed the tone.
No.
Instead of like a
No.
fleeting fanship.
No.
Oh, I do declare.
What would you do?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not see that coming. See what I did?
That's not even the name of the segment, though.
I did not see that coming.
What's it called?
It was, I did not
someone just touched me.
I did not expect this.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
Peter, your interpretation?
Oh.
Yeah, that's about the excitement he musters for video games.
Good.
Peter Burns.
Yes, sir.
Start us off with
I
a game
will.
that you did not expect, but was a big surprise in 2022.
Pokemon
Which
Legends
one?
Arceus. Pokemon Legends Arceus. We were lucky enough as a community of gamers across the globe to get 2 Pokemon games this year.
Lucky?
Oh, baby. And Arceus came out in February, and it is not considered a mainline game. It was the first fully open world Pokemon attempt where Sword and Shield had open world areas. This is the first game that was like, there are villages that you load into, but then you enter big open spaces.
Was Legends, is this the first Legends game? Or had that
Correct,
been used?
yeah.
Okay, that was the first time
Yeah.
they'd taken that title out for a spin. Okay.
So this was something I was definitely keen to check out. It being like promising to be a different kind of Pokemon game. And I was surprised to find that it absolutely was in ways that Scarlet and Violet, I think, fall short on. The way that the capturing of Pokemon worked in that you were like a hunter with Pokeballs, like crawling around and throwing balls in the third-person open world as opposed to engaging in combat to then catch Pokemon is completely different to anything you can do in any other Pokemon game. And I thought was really cool because like the setting of this was the invention of the first Pokeball. No one had ever set out to do this before, and you're part of the frontier of Pokemon capturing and starting the trade of salacious dogfighting.
Interspecial cockfighting.
Yeah.
And
Eating.
Yeah.
And eating.
Well, it kind of made sense as well because previous games were always about listing all the Pokemon. It's like, well, we all know which ones exist, whereas this was a great storyline to say, we don't know which ones are out there, so you're categorizing them and listing them off, which I thought was such a cool idea.
Yeah, it was refreshing in so many ways because, every Pokemon game has been the same since the first one and has just changed in minor ways, but is like, Elite, dude, get your 8 badges, fight the Elite Four, catch as many Pokemon as you feel like you want to.
Yeah, that's
Not them all,
not of all.
just until you're bored of it.
Yeah, catch it till you're full.
Yeah.
And catch a few and then get bored of it.
And this going like, hey, we don't really understand what Pokemon are. There's some really like left of field scientists who are like playing with the idea of putting them in balls and it's just different. Rolling
That
around
is left of field.
both
Like, that's literally never happened in the real world.
Yeah.
No one has ever seen an animal and gone, I want to put it in a ball. And very
gerbils.
important, very important.
Gerbils.
No,
hamsters that you don't put them in Richard Gere.
no. Very important.
Yeah.
The ball needs to be like 1/30th the size of the thing that I'm putting in.
Yeah.
Shrink them down. And as we're looking at here, even just looking at this, it's ugly. I'm not going to pretend that it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
It's less ugly now with hindsight.
I
but
think I look at this
has
and I'm like,
design.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild
Oh, it's not Breath of the Wild.
doesn't look that much better than this, right?
I think it does.
I don't think it looks-
I think Breath of the Wild looks.
What you're
look
pointing at is that
significantly
there's
better.
what you're
Yeah.
looking at is that there is a style treatment to this. There is
Yes.
a painterly kind of almost sort of watercolor brush
Yeah.
style look to it. Which look, Breath of the Wild was doing something like that too. But I think at least they made that to cover their. They covered their rough edges with a bit of a look, a treatment.
Yeah, but this has a treatment as well. Having played Scarlet Violet,
Yeah.
which has no treatment,
Yeah.
doesn't look, I think, anywhere near as good. It's just more saturated, but it has no style. It's like just real world locations where this feels painterly in a way that
Jaunty
really
fucking
suits
hat
it.
that kid's wearing.
Yeah, he was so cute with his
You
little
feel like
scarf
you're in a
and the
region,
UI,
like-
everything about it. The
Yeah, the UI
is tied into it. There's like the
sort of
brush
painterly
stroke with
brushstroke
fight
books,
on it
yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
To me, this is the strongest Pokemon game this year of two. Whatever. But I really, really like the ideas that were in this, and I'm disappointed if Scarlet Violet becomes the template and we lose some of the new ideas that Legends introduced. And maybe I'm just on the Legends bandwagon now, and if they continue to do Legends games, that'll be my bag.
Yeah.
But Scarlet and Violet I've enjoyed playing just because I enjoy playing through Pokemon games, but as I get to the end of it, I'm like, fuck me, this was just another one of the same things, and wasn't as exciting as Arceus at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
I was skeptical on this when I first saw it, and then you were playing it, and I was like, it's not Breath of the Wild, and all those snarky things people said. And then I played Scarlet, a bit of Violet, I should say, and I'm like, I'm ready either to play this or to see what the next in this iteration is, because next iteration in this Legend series is, because I'm with you. I think it just it was taking those steps that this series has needed to take for a long time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in hindsight, it's actually a really unique game.
Yeah. And I'm sure, there's that conversation about give Pokemon to literally any other developer.
Yeah.
But there's something about
Give him to Kojima.
yeah. I mean, look, I'm not against that, but I think Game Freak know what works about their game better than anyone else. It's why they've made the same fucking game for the last 30 years, because it sells 10 million copies in a week.
I think
People love it.
I think they shouldn't. Well, no. I think they should give Pokemon to someone else. Just not entirely, but just as an experiment.
Yeah.
But what they should also give Game Freak is a break.
Yes.
And to just go take a couple of years,
Yeah.
figure it out. But I think that definitely we'll see the repercussions of this
Yes.
going forward. I don't think they can necessarily go back in mainline to what they used to have.
Yeah.
Now that they've had this and Scarlet and Violet.
Wait, was Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl? That was end of last year.
That wasn't this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No, you're not allowed to have
three.
it's like you can't have three
You
fucking
can't have
Pokemon games.
No, I'm not going to have them on my Game of the Year list, but I was just thinking that was also buggy as well.
The universe
The
can't
universe
handle.
cannot handle.
Game Freak
Yeah.
can't handle.
They're just getting slammed.
Can't handle
man.
two.
They can't have. They can't handle one.
They can't handle one.
Gus, surprise me.
Yeah, sure. My surprise game was one that I adored. It is in my list of Game of the Year as well. Is Tinykin. Is just a delightful little surprise that came along mid-year that I first discovered when I saw a trailer for it that was fully in the art style of the avatars here. It was that full hand-drawn cartoon, Saturday morning cartoon vibe, which was just so colorful and so eye-catching. And so looking into the game, I was like, oh, okay, this might just be a cute little platformer. But booting it up, again, surprised to find that it was a different type of platformer that was blending your Banjo-Kazooie open world collectathon with your Pikmin, maintaining this group of little creatures, the Tinykins themselves. And it was just such a delight, such a surprising delight to play a game that I couldn't put down. There was a combination of an art style that I just adored to look at every moment. The setting itself being this shrunken character in an enormous world, or just a regular house, which is just non-stop endearing. The whole way through it, it was just like, I don't know what it is about being tiny in a regular setting, but it is just, it's awe-inspiring and just like heartwarming to be like, oh, I'm in the bathroom running around and I'm through a crack in the tile, and then adding to that this weird batshit narrative that was so confusing, because this game could have been little Professor Man accidentally shrinks himself down and meets some aliens that are in his house, but it's not that. I can't even begin to explain what
There's
the
a
story
proletariat?
was. There's the proletariat main character character who owns the house, sorry, the leader that all the bugs in the house worship, they are separate to the Tinykin, who are another alien species. You are technically a little alien man who's turned up in this. Look, it has a.
And you're all in a human's house, which is a fourth species.
Yes, and the human is actually huge.
Yep.
It's not that you're tiny there. So again, a very surprisingly weird story that I found continually kept pushing me forward to be like, explain yourself, game. And it tries to at the end to amusing results. But yeah, the core gameplay of this was just so Moorish and so charming in a way that all the little characters had something funny to say. It was a collectathon in a world where it didn't feel like busy work. It felt like every corner had something that was shining, something that was spinning that I just had to keep getting. So it was almost oversaturated with collectibles that made it just non-stop.
So adore this game.
Yeah.
Adore this game. The collectathon thing, I think the genius of it is similar to something in Elden Ring, which is Elden Ring's map goes, hey, here you go. And then you explore that whole map, and then it goes, oh, actually, there's another map. Here you go. Oh, okay, cool. Well, I guess I'll go there. Collecting the shit in here, collecting the like pollen or whatever it is, is like, I need 800 of these and I can make you a new bubble. Cool, I'll collect 800. You get to 800 and then it goes, great, go get your new bubble. And now the total number in the level goes to 950. And so the game goes, well done, you collected 800. Did you know there's actually another 150 things in this level that you haven't found yet? Do you want to go find them? Maybe you do. But you have already had the satisfaction of collecting the 800, so you don't feel obligated to go get them because it's like, I already got the mental tick in my head that I accomplished something. And I think that, and I didn't know there was more until I found the base.
And there's
that
also
is,
not,
I think that is so fucking smart.
You're right. And there's also not just 800. So when you get to 775, you go, I just can't.
I can't. Yeah, exactly.
The game does that both with.
There's an abundance already. You can pretty easily get
collectibles
that.
and of the Tinykin themselves. I believe. I think you can complete levels and objectives.
I feel like the Tinykin are.
There might be extras, but I think some of them come
pretty much number perfect.
They are, but I think there are more than you need for certain objectives. For the majority of
the
level progression.
The bridge ones are the only ones where it was like, I feel like I always needed to go find a couple more. Whereas like the climby ones, it was like, I feel like I can climb a little further than I need to.
You had a surplus of them, and the traversal, both with the movement style, which had the little soap bar that you surf around on, like everything just felt so satisfying to do.
When you fall and die, you just respawn back where you were. Like, it is a game that wants you to find things and finish it.
Yeah.
And there's still friction in how to do it, but the friction is very mild. Like, a part of the joy of this for me was playing it with Banjo. He became obsessed with this game, and this became such a bonding experience for us. And it was such a great game for him to sort of like start wrapping his head around video games, because there's, with the exception of all the like the Bolsheviks are trying to take over, there's no real, like, he doesn't really need to understand any sort of like complicated menu system or whatever. It's kind of like
serious fail states.
Yeah, he just fucking got it. Everything is visual.
No
like
combat.
it's all color based, and he just fucking knew how to play this game.
And I guess the surprise is also that this game came along, and I think a lot of people's initial reaction was to say, "Oh, it's ripping off Pikmin." It's like, no, it is doing Pikmin right.
Yeah,
it is doing.
I feel sorry for Pikmin 4.
I totally do, because it's like, this is a mass sort of organizing of little worker bee kind of simulator done right, because it doesn't punish you in the way that Pikmin did. And again, joy was just at the forefront of this whole experience, and something that I didn't know on a Monday, and I'd finished it on a Friday, and I was like, that was such a delightful surprise. Love it.
My first surprise, similar to yours in terms of the way that I discovered Tinykin, was I saw it on Game Pass, and then I heard someone talk about it and say, like, this is really good, check it out. And the same with my first game. So literally a surprise, as in, had never heard that it existed, and then I had it already, Signalis, which is the horror game on Game Pass where you play as basically an android wandering around a space station where some really fucked up shit has happened. You're trying to find your partner, and it is super moody, not necessarily scary, but incredibly atmospheric. It's this sort of like it's the thing that is in vogue right now, but I really love, which is this sort of like, we made a sexy PlayStation 1 game. We've degraded the graphics a bit, and there's a lot of limitations on this, but it still looks better than anything on the PlayStation 1. There is all sorts of weird horror, anime, sci-fi things incorporated in this. The story, you sort of are figuring it out as you go, but you never really have a handle on what's going on. You just, again, it's like a mood piece that you sort of like are just piecing together events that have happened, but more it's just this oppression and this gross, grimy hellscape that you're in, and you're just trying to make it through. Very much like a sort of Resident Evil situation where you're balancing your inventory and limited resources, limited ammo, and all that sort of thing. It all just fucking works. Like, it just works so hard for me. I'm not the biggest horror person, as I've said, but this just totally clicked with me. Every aesthetic about this game I loved, and I really enjoyed the puzzles. The puzzles are really achievable, but head scratchy. It's also a bit Metroidvania where you are wandering back and forth, like, oh, I got this key, so now I can unlock this door. But, you know, it takes you maybe 30 seconds to get from one side of a floor to the other. So the backtracking is not as annoying as something, you know, like, I love Ori, but like there's times in Ori where I'm like, where the fuck am I?
There's a
like,
decent map in this too.
There's a great map in this. Yeah, you never don't know where you are at any point, and what and it signifies you open this door. This door has been locked. This door has yet to be unlocked, and that sort of thing. So yeah, I just adore it. I thoroughly recommend, if you're into moody games, if you're into horror games, if you're into sort of puzzle action games, this is definitely one worth checking out. I really, really loved Signalis. You guys didn't play it, did you?
I played the start of it. I think I said on the show that I probably hit a wall in terms of locked door syndrome and written notes.
Yep. Oh, the notes. It was the notes that
there were
tipped you
lots
off.
of bloody
That's
notes
right.
in it.
Yeah.
Bloody notes everywhere, bloody locked doors. But I totally agree with you. The vibe and the aesthetic and that kind of like strange, nightmarish, but super stylized way that the game does pull you through a few moments. I was getting some Silent Hill vibes to it too. Where
Silent Hill, big time.
I think there's a moment where you almost move through two spaces that shouldn't really be connected, and your brain, you crawl in a hole, and then suddenly the game continues. And for me, I just went, what? Hang on, this makes no sense, but it was very intriguing.
It also does some things where it rips you out, where it's like you're basically always in this perspective, and then suddenly you're in a first-person perspective, and you are now, like you said, somewhere else, and and all of that. And I played this on my Steam Deck, so I was playing this in bed. I've only ever played this game in bed past midnight, which is a real vibe as well. So yeah, I really love Signalis. And again, a total surprise because I didn't even know it existed until I started playing it.
Yeah. Take it, still playing, haven't got to the end?
No, finished it.
Okay, ending gratifying? Question mark?
Yeah, gratifying.
For something that leaves a lot of loose ends,
like there's no sort of like twist that you go, oh, this recontextualizes everything. It is the moody atmosphere certainly is a moody atmosphere, but satisfying.
That's important, I think.
Yeah. Peter, surprise number 2.
Surprise number 2.
Oh shit.
Oh,
he's stone cold. Stone cold.
Was Pentiment.
Oh.
Obsidian Entertainment.
Oh.
Do they miss?
I don't think no. Grounded, pretty good. Fallout New Vegas,
miss
great.
all the games you didn't make, shot-wise. That's not
the Outer Worlds.
Didn't
fine,
yeah.
Pentiment,
Excellent.
Bullseye.
Excellent. Kind of. I can't remember exactly when we saw this, but I feel like it was only this year.
It was the Game Award. No, it was the Keighley's.
Yeah, Keighley's
Key 3. Yeah, or the Xbox thing.
Yeah.
No, it would have been
the
probably the
Xbox
Xbox thing.
thing.
Yeah. And I remember looking at it going, oh, that looks a bit boring.
Yeah, I was like, I saw it and I was like, oh, what's this about? And then it was like, by Obsidian Entertainment. And it was like, oh, okay. Like, there must be something there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was definitely keen to boot it up and see what was there. And I was immediately in love with it. This is the opening sequence, and like you're in a dream arguing with the components of your consciousness.
Yeah.
And like having this like funny banter with yourself. and it only more and more charming from there, and the story is like sexy and dark, and the characters are all.
Then famously, you went, I'm having a completely different experience when, in terms of some of the story threads. That
Famously?
Famously?
Well,
Are we going to name a Game of the Year segment next year? I'm having a completely different experience.
I guess so. But point is, you're like, it's this game, and you for Obsidian making a game with a narrative that does stray off to be a very different experience.
No, I think
No,
we're having
no,
the
no, we
nearly
had-
You're
Exact
having a
same
sexy dark experience too.
Yeah. Sorry, yes. But we had developed different backstories for our characters.
But the
And you
story
made
is still the
yourself
same.
You made yourself a glutton and a
made myself a
sex pest.
glutton sex pest who lived in Italy.
Yeah. And I was like famously, and I was like a fucking Italian banker.
Yeah. But we're experiencing the same story.
We experience the same
Sure.
story.
Yeah,
The
okay,
sexiness is around us, whether
You
it
know-
is within us or not.
You know what's famous now?
Yeah.
You saying famously is now what?
Coin it.
Famously, what Gus said famously.
Yeah. I still haven't finished it.
Neither do I.
It's because it's. I guess the only thing about it is that it requires your full attention.
Yeah.
It is a lot of reading. It is a story of intricacy, and the detail is so important,
So important.
about to take to the next conversation.
right.
So it's not something you can just kind of have on. It's not a popcorn game by any stretch of the imagination, and I imagine it's what would cause a lot of people to drop off it as well. I won't drop off it, but I don't think I'll finish it until the break.
Yeah.
When I actually have a
Yeah.
day, I'm just going to go like, okay, cool. I'm doing it. I think I need to do 2 more Pentiment days.
Yeah.
I think I need to do I think it's Act 5 that I'm up to, but like it's really in terms of the body, the second big act.
Yeah.
And then there'll be another one, I think.
This
So-
is finishing a good book rather than getting through a TV show kind of vibe. In terms of you need to be fully attentive to it. You need to have been.
I mean, it's such a passive experience.
Yes.
And that's not a negative, but it's like you literally cannot have. You need to turn your phone off and
Yeah.
tell everyone in your house to fuck off. Because, like, if anything distracts you, there's nothing stopping you from just standing up and walking away. No one's going to die.
Yeah.
Time isn't going to progress. The
Yeah.
game's just going to sit there.
Yeah.
And me, Nick, is going to come downstairs 6 hours later and hear jaunty music and go, fuck, Pentiment's still running. Because I went upstairs to get a
Minstrel
drink
band
and then
in my
the day
phone.
just disappeared.
Yeah. But yeah, like I'm so enthralled, and I think it's just so, you know, and again, based on just the first big story beat, I love how it makes you feel. And it's not necessarily like the best written game ever or anything like that, but it makes you feel at every step, and there's conflict with every character at different like levels. It's not that there's like I need to fight this person. It's just, do I help this person or not? Do I let this person be this way to me or not?
Yeah.
It's so beautiful in all the choices and all the relationships you need to build.
This is also a game, it shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be allowed to
In the
make
TikTok
a game
era.
that looks like this, that is this slow, that provides no real answers to the mysteries that it presents often. You have your best guess.
Yeah.
But then you're like,
It doesn't give you the time to finish.
I think,
to
yeah, you're not gonna, it is impossible to see all of the game.
Yeah.
And everyone is wearing tights. You should not in a Fortnite world. Like, I want to see Andreas drop into Fortnite as a.
I would fucking
wouldn't
love
that.
that.
Be fucking wild. Yeah, great choice, great game.
Yep.
Gus.
Amazing. Probably on the other end of the spectrum entirely, a game that surprised me. Well, I mean, in the mindless actionness
Yep.
that you could then categorize this, Vampire Survivors was a game that, Nick, you recommended on the show, and I think said directly,
Last year, yeah.
you need to play this. And I would say the surprise here is that a game that looks like this and that plays like this can sink its hooks in so deep and can lead you to hours and hours of please skip this.
It is like Will
doesn't
is
suck
not
at this.
doing you any favors right now with the clip that he's playing.
But
This is Game of the Year.
well,
And it could be.
This is the slow grind that sets you off into the world of Vampire Survivors. That is an auto brawler, I guess. I think we categorized it halfway through the year, but essentially a game in which you auto battle a avatar around a space that continually becomes crowded and swarmed with enemies and different enemy types. We should say artistically, this is an absolute phone it in. This is sprites from Castlevania.
Phone it in.
No, they stole the sprites from Castlevania.
Did they? Did they literally steal it?
I think they are so similar that there was something.
I'm
There
gonna
was
look it
some
up.
legal.
Phone it in.
Well, and
You
again,
piece of shit.
well, there have been games.
This
that
is
have come
better
on-
than any Photoshop that we have in this studio.
I think very quickly after this came out, a lot of other games that were either in development or that were similar picked up a bit of pace because this genre has taken off. But the thing I found incredibly surprising was just, again, how many hours I sunk into this game. I guess I shouldn't say I'm surprised that the stackable power-ups of your Risk of Rains and things like that just continue to make me feel this wonderful, slow climb to all-powerfulness while still requiring some level of attention. Not much. It's literally you are navigating, but... am I right? Am I wrong?
There was a lot of talk about it being the case. They interviewed the developer and he said that no, none of them are stolen. He did his homework, but they are all asset pack stuff. So he didn't create them, but he did check to make sure that they weren't Castlevania assets. But he's like, they're really fucking close.
And he said, I really phoned it in.
I really phoned this one in.
But it is a game boiled down to its simple, its basic premise, which is just a lot of automation and a lot of gratification in watching mobs be churned up in the same way that I love tower defense games. I love watching this sort of inevitable onslaught of enemies as you just as you try to not succumb to the overwhelmingness of it. There is, since then, a lot of support the game's been given in terms of extra characters, extra play styles. But I do love a game that just feels good to boot up again on the default character being this guy with the whip.
Totally.
And just go, you know what? I know that it's like you buy a new character and they aren't essentially an upgraded, better character. They just play differently.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time you just spent maybe 5 hours going, I got really good at this, and it's like, I'm not ready to move on to the shield bearer or the magician. I want to stick with whip guy. But yeah, I found this as a very cathartic time killer game that I could just add to the end of a night of, I could just tune out and just use that 20, I don't know, maybe 10% of my brain.
The lizard part
to
of the brain.
the lizard part of my brain. And yeah, if you told me this is one of the games that I was going to put probably some of the most hours this year, I wouldn't have believed you looking at it. But yeah,
You have called me a liar?
I wouldn't have said you're a liar, but I would have said that's surprising because it really surprised me.
Oh.
There he is. So surprised. Yeah, great game.
You would have said, I bet you didn't expect that, not surprise.
Yeah.
Have you spoken about this on the show? Have you
Vampire
said? Yeah.
Survivors?
Have you said that
No,
you've
I
been
think
playing?
so.
I don't.
You did.
I did
and
when it
then
was in early
I-
access at the end of last year. I just don't remember you saying, because when you said this is a game I put some of the
I
most
checked
hours
on
in, I'm like,
Steam,
what?
and I checked Steam and it's like,
Yeah, great,
I've put,
awesome.
I think.
Too many.
4,000.
No, I think like
3,000.
it said something like
3,000.
85 hours into it or something, which
That's a lot.
might have been a menu.
That's a
but I do play it maybe once a week, and I play at
For
least
8 hours.
No, I play like 3 runs or something, and it is
amazing.
just my go-to tune-out game. And I was like, wow, that's
Yeah,
a lot of
good.
hours. Might have been sitting on the main menu, but it's definitely
Still.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lot of
I didn't expect it.
Cool. Good choice. And my did not expect this. Biggest surprise. Game number 2. Marvel Snap. Marvel Snap. I did not expect to like. Is that true?
Yes.
No, you were ready to.
I was ready to love it.
You were in love with it the moment you started playing it as well, and then you turned against it.
And then I turned against it.
Yeah.
So the biggest surprise is I came back.
Yeah.
I think I'm surprised that it's as good as it is. Because I was a little wary of the fact that, like, when I heard that Second Dinner, Ben Brode and those guys were making a card game, I was like, fuck yeah. And then they were like, and we're making it mobile first. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I play a lot of Hearthstone on the phone. That's okay. And they were like, and it's a licensed game with Marvel. I'm like, oh.
Spider-Man.
Will's gonna like that. And this game just rocks. And I've had my troubles with it this year from a never from a gameplay perspective.
Yeah.
But I'm playing it again now, and I'm surprised. I think I'm surprised at how well all of it works. I'm surprised that they have managed to do the thing that Hearthstone was criticized the most for, which was its randomness. There is so much... lots of the cards in Hearthstone have random effects on random things.
Yeah.
And that is really fucking annoying to come up against. Like, oh, the odds of you hitting this thing and not this thing, now whatever. Whereas so much of this game is about randomness, but it's kind of like, going into it, like the 3 locations that come up are always going to be 3 random locations. The way that obviously the order that you draw your cards. There are lots of cards that interact with cards, like one of the cards at your location. But it's kind of embraced all that and managed to turn it into something that's really compelling, something that's really exciting, something that constantly feels different. It's so fast to play. I love the way that it looks, all the little, like the sound effects and the card design is so fucking like satisfying and sick. Yeah, the Marvel Snap. I thought I was, in my head, I love cards as an interactive system, but I thought I was done with collectible card games after Hearthstone because I was like, you learnt your lesson, you lost a bunch of money and a lot of time, and you can't do this again. And I'm back, but I'm not spending nearly as much money because I can't. And that is the thing where I'm like, oh, I'm back in a collectible card game, and I am so happy to be home.
Yeah, nice.
Can I just quickly ask, what part of you is tickled by the Marvel-ness of this? Are you playing this with blinkers on? Because I've been playing a lot of it, but I appreciate a big thing they went for, or they talked about when this game was in development, was creating these characters that people love, creating breakout and hologram versions of the cards, so they are replicating a collectible card nature of a franchise that is, of a universe that people adore. I know you're not completely blind to that, but I do see you're a mechanics and a sort of substance over style kind of guy in terms of when you're playing a game like this. Is that doing anything at all?
I loved comics growing up, and I still go through heavy comic phases. To me, this is no different than Hearthstone. Well, I didn't have a huge affinity for Warcraft, and I played a lot of World of Warcraft, but I never cared about the story. So when I played Hearthstone, I was like, I just like the art on this card. I like the personality of this card, and I like how this card interacts. Like beyond just the mechanics, thematically what this card does. And I think that the strongest thing in the game when it comes to that is how they have managed to thematically tie characters to abilities. I think we saw it there earlier. You put down Mr. Fantastic, and he stretches his stretchy arms and puts power on the 2 things. And you go, yeah, that's exactly what the card version of Mr. Fantastic would do. And so I think that it's totally charming, but I'm never like, yay, Hawkeye. I'm like, sick. Hawkeye fucking works really well for me in this scenario.
I would argue that no one has ever said,
so true.
Yay, Hawkeye.
That's so true. Not even Mrs. Hawkeye as he was exploding inside of her to create the baby Hawkeyes that we saw. Yeah. All right. Well, the biggest, didn't expect that, was that. So those are the games that we did not expect and were the biggest surprises. Pokemon Legends Arceus, Tinykin, Signalis, Pentiment, Vampire Survivors, Marvel Snap. What were your biggest surprises? Let us know in the comments, and we'll be back with more Back Pocket Game of the Year awards for excellence in video games. Video Game Awards for excellence in video games.
2022.
For 2022.
After this short break.
Did it in.